Okay, so yeah, you know what comes out for tomorrow?
Fuck you! I'm not doing it
It's the
again.
Left 4 Dead 2 demo
Uh,
that I can play and you can't because you got the shit PC.
I want to play.
I I keep watching habitually the Survivor trailer just to hear
I do too. It's so. I think I'm gonna watch it now and not listen to it.
just to hear Ellis be a
Oh
fucking
my god.
BA. Or not
God
Ellis,
damn
Nick.
it.
Ellis is a redneck.
Fucking. I fucking love the way he says that chocolate line so much.
I love
Oh my
everything. Everything
god.
he says, like it's like they almost had a plan to make a spin-off game of just Nick and did the worst job of hiding it ever. Because he's the coolest looking. He gets all the cool
He looks kind of
lines.
douchey.
Yeah, I know, but he's like douchey and he looks like House. He's like House douchey. Cool.
No, I don't
He's
know.
like a.
I kind of
I guess
thought
he's
he
a
was a
con artist.
speedball. Yeah, he looked like skis.
Well, I mean that's his backstory is that he's a con artist, gambler guy. But I mean he
Do the
gets.
characters in Left 4 Dead have a backstory?
No,
Besides the obvious, like the stuff you can infer.
no, not that I can tell.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm gonna write an essay about Left 4 Dead
for what?
for my intro to media studies class. I'm gonna talk about how Zoe is an exemplary um,
Portrayal of
example of.
feminine. Well, I'm looking forward to the essay already with
Shut
pros
up!
like that.
Exemplary example of like a female character.
Of Vagoo, virtual Vagoo, an exemplary example of virtual Vagoo, an essay by Ashley Birch.
That's gonna be the title. And when my teacher's like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." Coach just punched a zombie in the face.
There's a
This used to be a nice neighborhood. God, I love this trailer so much. Can everyone just watch this right now? Stop listening to this podcast and go watch the trailer.
I'm pretty sure
This is
everybody else has
very
already seen
good.
it a bunch of times.
I'm watching it so much. The spitter looks so gross. Her boobs are all saggy.
Well, what we were talking about when I messaged you about it was that like there's that weird sense of sort of shared horror between you and the characters when you see the jets come in and start bombing everything. Because
Yeah.
like what how did I can't even remember how it was phrased when we talked to each other. Do you remember? It was like
Does it say your
knowing.
chats in
Okay, no,
your
I
email?
remember now. I remember. It was it's like
Okay.
the mixture of seeing those characters in that situation. That's sort of a big deal. Even though I don't really care about these characters yet. I mean, I have no reason to because I've never met them before. I haven't spent any time with them. It's not like I'm seeing Zoe and Francis and all those guys. But the knowledge that I'm going to have to do that and I'm going to be them pretty soon, like somehow made it a really big fucking deal. And not just in like,
It
ooh
really,
yay,
yeah.
I get to run away from jets kind of way, but like, oh fucking no, oh shit, I don't want to have to do that. Run
Yeah,
Nick.
because like I mean, that happens 28 weeks later, so it's not like it's like hasn't been done before,
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that like you see that and like I trust Valve enough that they wouldn't just put something like that in the trailer and then not have it show up in the game.
Hmm.
So just the realization of that happening, it was like, oh fuck, that's really gonna happen. It was actually almost like an excitement thing for me though. I was just like, bombing. I was like freaking out that like they would do that because it's almost like social commentary ish. Um, which is a lot different from Left 4 Dead, which was just yay zombies.
It's almost social commentary. I would emphasize the
It's
almost.
more it's more than it was in Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead was just straight up zombie killings.
Right.
But
And it's straight up zombie killings and people writing like 4chan responses on walls and stuff.
that was pretty funny.
That's what I'm most excited for with Left 4 Dead 2 is. I mean, yeah, the game's gonna be great and everything like that, but I'm sort of interested because they kept talking about like how we changed the story around a little bit and it's a little bit different and like improved in some ways. And I have no idea how they could possibly be referring what that could possibly be referring to. So I'm interested to see how
Yeah.
that pans out.
I feel bad because I'm bringing my roommate back with me for Thanksgiving because she lives in New York and she doesn't want to buy a plane ticket. But like all I want to do when I get home is play Left 4 Dead, and I feel really bad because I can't do that. Like I can't just be like come home and be like, "Here's Arizona, go fucking find something to do," and then just play Left 4 Dead 2.
Ashley. It
What?
looks like the plan's changed. That's what you're gonna be missing out on if you hang out with your stupid friend.
Fuck you! Oh, can you hear me listening to it right now?
No. Can you hear
You
me
can?
listening to it? Because I am.
Because you were right at the part that I was.
Oh, yeah.
He literally just said that.
Clown zombies.
There's also the zombie in the hazmat suit.
Yeah, I heard or slash saw, I can't remember, but if you, it's either if you shoot them in the face or if you shoot them, their face explodes blood onto the inside visor of their hazmat suit,
Oh,
like
really?
they pop like berries or something, like something
Oh
intensely
my
satisfying
god.
and horrible like that.
Oh my god. That's awful.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll know for sure, and you won't.
Fuck
It'll just be
you.
another day in the life of Anthony Burgess, and
Fuck
you'll have
you,
to
fuck you, fuck
you have to live
you!
day to day now. You could probably buy a laptop that could run it for quasi
That's so
reasonable
much
money.
monies, though.
It is, but you really like Left 4 Dead. Like you like Left 4 Dead more than
Yeah.
I do.
I won't even do homework, though. That's the problem. It's probably good I can't play it at college because I can't even, like, watch TV shows, which is like a half an hour. Like, playing Death Toll, like, if you're playing it correctly, takes at least two.
Yeah,
So,
but on the other hand, it's Left 4
it's Left
Dead.
4 Dead. I like that moment in the trailer where they help Ellis up.
Why?
Because there's the because it's kind of interesting to me that there's like always I say always like there's been a bunch of Left 4 Deads, but there's like
Since Left 4 Dead 8.
there's always the camaraderie factor in the games because there has to be for the gameplay, but it's just interesting that you would have like a con man and like this redneck kid and like this
Yeah,
bad.
I really what I really sort of dig about, especially Crash Course, which you've only played like once, is like it's just sort of fun seeing how they write dialogue around these characters and like the relationships they have to one another. Like in the first Left 4 Dead, there's that scene with Lewis and Francis, and I can't remember which one it is. I want to say Death Toll, where he's like, "Oh, I wonder what's the deal with these sewers," and Lewis is like, "Well, interestingly enough, in 1987, the township," and Francis is like, "You know what? I don't care anymore." I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny, but it's sort of
Aw,
it's kind of what you would expect from guys who look like that.
yeah.
And then in Crash Course, like they're I don't know why, but like they sort of like their characterizations are just much more funny. Like Lewis has that whole line about why don't you go find a parade because you look gay implicitly, and then there's a did I tell you I know we sort of went through this before, but there's the whole thing starts with Zoe shooting a helicopter pilot and blah blah blah, and later on you have to start an event and get a big horde coming at you and stuff like that, and so you
Right.
start the event by shooting out this howitzer, and Zoe's like, "Oh shit!" and this huge flood comes at you, and you just hear Francis like over the din of the zombies go, "Zoe, just pretend they're all helicopter pilots," like, and it's like little stuff like that. It's actually kind of weird because I had this week of lots of little cool emergent, well not emergent, but not super duper scripted cutscene humor moments in a bunch of different games I played, like.
Lay it
Uh,
out. Lay it out for me.
Lay it out. Brutal Legend. At the beginning, you're driving away from this. You're driving over this collapsing bridge, and Jack Black is saying funny stuff, but he's always going to say the exact same funny stuff while you're driving on the bridge. But then at some point, I accidentally drove off the bridge and fell because I'm stupid, and that's just a failure state. So why would you? Nothing special is going to happen. It's you're just going to have to do it again. Except the second you fall off the bridge, because he's in a car with a girl who he has the hots for. The second you fall off the bridge, you hear Jack go, "Hey, you want to make out before we hit the water?" And she goes, "No," and it's just like you failed, and then you get to do it again, and like it made me feel really good about losing because I would have never seen that otherwise. And then in Uncharted 2, this might be a spoiler if nobody's played Uncharted 2 and they don't want to have this little thing ruined for them, but there's a bit where the whole plot of Uncharted 2 is you're trying to find Marco Polo's lost treasure, and you at one point go through this huge ruined, burned out, blasted out city and get to the top of this really rich guy's apartment, presumably. And there's just a little swimming pool on the roof of the apartment, just for no reason. And so, just because it was lit in such a way and like was this really pretty color of blue and just like really, really inviting for no reason at all, I felt like just jumping into the pool. And so the second I did, Nathan goes, "Hey, check this out," because he's with a girl, and he goes, "Hey, check this out, Marco," and she's like, "What?" He goes, come on, Marco," and she goes, "Polo." He goes, "Ah." I was like, "Oh my god, it's the funniest thing ever!" And then I got out of the pool, and he goes, "Fish out of water," and it's like, it has nothing to do with the gameplay, but just the fact that like they thought enough to include something like that and make it completely optional and have it as a little bitty surprise for just doing something cute is really really cool. And like Left 4 Dead is almost built entirely on that. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's even a point later on where you're getting shot at by this helicopter on a train, and there's a bunch of scripted dialogue that Nathan has about, "Oh, fucking helicopters, I don't like helicopters," and there's some ammo on a table. And the first time I played through the level, because it's my favorite level of the game, so I played it a couple times. The first time I didn't get the ammo because I had enough ammo, and the second time I went through while the helicopter was shooting at me, I picked up the ammo, and he goes, "Oh, fucking great, ammo! This is really gonna help with the goddamn helicopter that's shooting at me," or something like that. It was funny the way he said it, but
Yeah.
like just the fact that they program that in just in case you happen to come across it, and the fact that you could quite possibly never come across it somehow makes those moments like surprising and special and really cool in
Yeah.
groovy ways.
Yeah, I like it when games do like little things like that. I feel like those don't really happen in Metal Gear Solid, do they? Well, I mean, they happen.
Oh, they happen
right?
all the time in Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah, what am I talking about? Yes, they do.
Like
All the time.
anytime, like Metal Gear Solid 4 is nothing but those moments. There's like two,
Yeah.
there's like two actual story moments and 900 optional.
I was thinking mostly of Metal Gear Solid, like the first one though, for the PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that, like if you just hassle the characters enough on codec that you get some cute stuff. But like once they sort of embraced how fucking nuts they were. Metal Gear Solid 2's got some stuff in it. It got a pretty good amount of stuff in it. Metal Gear Solid 3 has a shitload of stuff, and Metal Gear Solid 4 has even more. Like, my favorite, probably, conversation between Snake and Otacon ever is in Metal Gear Solid 4 when Otacon asks him how he took out a tank on his own with no rocket launcher. And he ends by going, Snake, you're the shit! Like it's just adorable.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good impression.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Yay! So, what are we talking about today? We had a little list of things.
We do. I have to go search for it now. I know I wanted to talk to you about the thing I just discovered about James Woods.
What did you just discover about James Woods?
Like, you like James Woods, and I like James Woods.
Yeah. What are you gonna say?
No. It's not that he's a pedophile or something. It's just a general.
Oh, okay.
It's a general discovery, just understanding of the human nature in general. Like it's something I just realized.
Okay.
There are people in the world who have seen many films with James Woods in them, like a lot. They saw Hercules. They saw I think it was The Professional with Sylvester Stallone. They've seen a bunch of James Woods movies, and they don't like James Woods. Like, at all.
What?
I'm saying there are people in the world, just statistically speaking, who've seen James Woods in many films and do not like James Woods at all. Like, it just occurred to me when I was in the car one day. I was, like, thinking about how fucking great he was in Hercules and how he was, like, the best part of Hercules when he was playing Hades and, like, how great his mannerisms are and his sort of style of speech and stuff like that. And then I just stopped and I realized somewhere out there's someone who really doesn't like James Woods. James Woods does nothing for them at all. And how fucking, like, horrible that is. That I have to share.
Fuck?
I have to share a planet with someone who just doesn't like James Woods at all.
Like he just doesn't do anything for them?
Yeah, like
Actually,
or
that's
like
probably
actively.
a large section of the population if you think about it.
I mean, but not just people who are completely ignorant of him, but people who like have seen his movies. And I mean, I can understand people who are whatever about James Woods, but I'm sure there are people who just really just dislike him, and they just open my mind up to so many things. Like there's people, I mean, it's easy to think of the world in terms of divided loyalties when you're thinking about people who hate gays or people who hate Jews or people who don't think we should have universal health care or whatever. When you think about it in political terms. But like even amongst people I probably agree with on the big political stuff, there are people within that group that don't like James Woods at all.
And that just really bothers me.
I just like I'm so alone in the universe. Like if you
It's like that revelation, the Choco Talk revelation, the inflated, like, a furry revelation. Those are, like, the things that made you realize what human nature is all about.
Yeah, it's not big stuff like getting in a near-death. Like, my near-death experience did fucking nothing for me. But sitting in a car knowing that James Woods is not beloved by the entire world fucking changes my entire worldview.
Jesus Christ.
Well, there's also the thing that you, when we were watching Batman Begins, one of my favorite sentences you've ever said.
Oh, that looks like James Woods. James Woods wasn't James Woods.
Yeah, your comment about Bruce Wayne's dad. I don't know the character, Thomas Wayne, or the actor's name, but like, yeah, your comment was he looks like James Woods if James Woods wasn't James Woods.
It's fucking true.
And it is. If you just go look up a picture of Thomas Wayne from Batman Begins, like he looks exactly like what Ash said. And that's when you said that, like I was torn between the stupidity of the structure of that sentence, like how it was the worst, dumbest sentence I'd ever heard in my entire life, and then realizing like how right it was, and therefore it became the best sentence I'd ever heard just through the power of like how correct it was.
Now I want to look at him again.
Shit,
and realize how true I was, how correct I was. Yeah, like I'm sure there was someone that watched Hercules and was just like, that Hades character just doesn't do it for me.
I thought he should have been more like scary and like mean. Like I didn't think it was funny. He sounds like a car salesman.
Hey.
He sounds like a used car salesman. I don't understand. Why is that? Why is he like that? That's not what bad guys are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And fucking, you just kill those people. You
Yeah,
can't.
that's
you
what
can't.
you
You
do.
can't like deal with those people on a regular day-to-day basis. I can't imagine someone saying that about Hades in Hercules and then being completely reasonable in every other aspect of their life. Seriously, like if you're not cool enough to see that it's awesome that a car salesman persona has been attached to basically Satan, then like what use are you?
Yeah, I know. The thing is that I would say that's like saying that.
Are you going to talk
Actually,
about the Holocaust again?
no, I'm not going to talk about the Holocaust. Yeah, for some reason, that just made me think of like when people criticize science fiction for saying like that wouldn't actually happen in real
Yeah,
life.
there are
But
lots
then
of
I
people
thought
like
about it.
that.
I kind of like, but to some degree, I kind of agree with them in some respects because
I think you
it's
agree
like you
with something
have,
you don't think you agree with.
huh?
I think you
What?
continue. I think I know
What
what
were you
you're going.
saying?
I think I know what you're going to say, and I'll have a rebuttal for it. But if it's not what you're actually going to say, then I get to pretend that it was anyway, because I
Okay.
interrupted you. But please continue.
But it's just like the concept of like I how I see science fiction is that like it has to operate within the laws of the world, I guess. So like I can buy that Spider-Man got his powers from a radioactive spider, but then if for some like but then if there's just like a plot device that doesn't make sense narratively or like he just happens to like be in the like I don't know. I just need to like have certain things be correct in my science fiction to really really buy it. I feel like
But that's not
because
intrinsic to
science
science fiction
fiction,
as a genre. I mean, there's
huh?
lots of that's not intrinsic to science fiction as a genre. There's lots of really
Oh,
reasonable science fiction that just keeps their world grounded. Like Firefly and Serenity, I don't think ever really require any huge leaps in believability in terms
right.
of.
That's what I mean is that I think like because I can believe Firefly because it exists like it doesn't like really completely stretch the like the laws of the world as I know them. Because that like and I can get immersed in those worlds because of that reason, but that if something just like I can't think of a good example now. I wish I could, but if something just comes out of left field,
Well, that's
then I
just
just
bad
get a
writing.
critique
Because
anyway.
like I understand what you're saying, but I mean that's universal to all fiction. It's just you have to be true to your own reality, whatever that reality is. And even if it's the most batshit insane silliness, like I mean, if you're reading Hitchhiker's Guide, but it's always sort of true to its own reality unless it gets serious, like it does in the last couple of books for no goddamn reason, and then Douglas Adams dies because he's an asshole. But
Oh,
like I thought what you were going to say was that it was geeky and unnecessary, and these are the same basic stories that could be told by like any other genre or something like that, which is a nonsense argument. But I mean, like I think what you're talking about is in Doctor Who, like there's Last of the Time Lords, like out of nowhere they just make up this
yeah,
like.
that's what I mean. It's like I can't buy that. It's like
But that's
I get
that's just
I
bad
get
writing. I mean, that's not intrinsic
yeah.
to science fiction. That's not science fiction's fault. It just means that when someone writes science fiction, they have to do a much better job of crafting believability, which is why the ending of Battlestar Galactica, if you ever end up watching Battlestar Galactica, like the ending is one of the worst things ever because they
Really.
realize because they make it as like it's basically for most of the series it's like West Wing on a spaceship and it's real no it's seriously got some of the cleverest political allegory I've ever seen because first it starts out and these Cylons these characters are robots who look like specific humans and they could be anywhere amongst you and they destroy all the humans planets and the only people left are on this spaceship and so you get this sense of like okay so they look like us and they may be within us and they're trying to destroy us from within okay so this is terrorist symbolism these are terrorists and this is about what a country does or what a people do when they're threatened by terrorism and the lengths to which one is willing to go to protect their own people that's kind of clever and then a couple seasons go by, and eventually they find this planet and they settle on it. And the Cylons, the bad guys, or not even the bad guys, but the Cylons take over and basically become the ruling class of this planet and keep all the humans and stuff in squalor under this totalitarian state. And then all of a sudden, the humans are waging suicide bombing runs on the Cylons and like trying to destroy their civilization from within. And they actually keep referring to them as like insurgents. And it's like, oh, holy shit! Now it's about Iraq. And all of a sudden, the allegories that I thought held up previously, where the Cylons are always going to be the Arabs and the terrorists and stuff, is somehow switched around. And now it's about this whole other thing, but still sort of about the first. Like it's really really clever, except for the fact that driving the whole series is this bullshit like big question about like what's going to happen to everybody, what's the plan of all the gods and stuff like that. And there's all this stuff about like God, the gods have decreed this certain thing, and whenever someone says that the god is going to do something in a story, that means it's not really God. It's like it's some thing that could be perfectly explained, and the characters just don't know how to like know what it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But then you get to the end, and don't stop listening if you really want to not have the horrible ending of Battlestar Galactica spoiled for you. And then they realize like, shit, we don't actually have like a plausible science fiction way to get out of this. Like we just fucked ourselves over. So like, yeah, it's really God. Like they just went, all right, yeah, okay, it's actually God. Seriously, for drizzle. See ya, peace. And then just the fucking the show just ends. They had no idea how to wrap up every single loose end, so they just said it's God, and then just turned off the fucking TV. It's
Wow.
yeah. So
That's such a fucking bummer. Why is that always I feel like science fiction has that problem is that they because Doctor Who does that all the time. It's like it builds up a really awesome thing and then it just fucking like bails out at the last minute because it doesn't have like a feasible way to reconcile all of the loose ends.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's. I don't think it's intrinsic to. I mean, it's not a universal problem plaguing all of science fiction, but it's definitely a bigger problem that takes better writing to solve. I mean, but the second season finale of Doctor Who is like so true to its own reality that it's fucking incredible. Like it's the greatest
Yeah.
thing in the world, just
Yeah.
because they don't bullshit their way out of it. It's like I mean, it is. I think it's a risk that fantasy and science fiction take is that since you're making up stuff that's not actually just in the real world, and you can presumably just make up other stuff about a psychic network that you can integrate with its matrices and then suddenly de-age yourself and turn into Jesus and then beat the shit out of John Sim as being a reasonable part of that world when in reality it's fucking not.
Oh, fuck that fucking finale. Fuck the last one even more though.
Even more? I don't know. I had my disappointment cherry the third season finale, so the fourth was pretty much as bad to me.
No, it just made me so angry because I mean, okay, the master was brought back. Like that was a huge deal. I understand. And obviously it sucked that that's the way it ended. Like it really sucked. I understand that. But they fucking brought back everyone for the fourth finale. Like when you bring back Jack and Rose and Sarah Jane and Martha and everyone, you shouldn't be able to fuck that up. That should just be instant awesome. Like that doesn't really need writing. You just let them hang out, just let them do things. And it's like
Yeah.
instant awesome. It doesn't need anything else. And then they fucked it up. They fucked it up. I don't understand how you fucked that up, but you do.
The strange thing about that is I've never seen a situation where it's a story that's built around all these characters from all their different autonomous series or all these other protagonists come together and something awesome happens. I've never actually seen that done well, like ever. I realized that
Does
after
it happen
seeing
a lot?
I mean, the Jetsons and the Flintstones, all the Marvel crossovers. I mean, it never works out. It always feels like they're not using everyone to their advantage. I mean, even Batman: Arkham Asylum is technically that, and its story completely falls flat on its face and doesn't make any sense because it feels like they're doing it just for the sake of doing it rather than because it actually pushes the story along. So you have a bunch of characters standing around trying very hard to be relevant to the story when in reality all they really are doing is just sort of standing around. And it bums me
Yeah.
out because it seems like hypothetically it could be the coolest fucking thing in the world ever.
Yeah.
And I've just never seen it done properly, and it really, really makes me sad.
It's because people they worry too much about plot and like having huge stakes and shit and like I mean, obviously that's the reason that they all come together, but it's like if they just made up a really that's when I would accept bullshit excuses. Like honestly, it was just like, "Oh, there was a time paradox or something and now we're all in the same place together. Hey, let's just hang out." And like just hung out.
Let's go to a fucking Starbucks.
Let's just go to Disneyland or something. And then it was like the Doctor Who cast in Disneyland. That would be the best day ever.
You,
That would be like the best thing I've ever seen.
I'll send Russell T Davis an email saying you should have
Yeah,
done
you should-
Doctor
oh,
Who
there's
in Disneyland.
Doctor Who Disneyland. There was a time warp, and now we're all
Well,
in
that was what you were saying
Chinatown.
about. That's what you were saying about Zombieland.
Yeah. Exact same thing. Is that all these? I feel like. I mean, obviously, movies and TV shows, the whole staple is that you need to be. Everything needs to be motivated by plot. You need to get from A to B, and there needs to be a conflict and blah blah blah. But I feel like. And I feel like this is a sentiment that a lot of people share is that they just want to hang out with the characters. And the character interactions are the best part of the movies. And it's just like, I don't know what there would have been to lose if Zombieland had, like Jeff was saying, one extra scene where they just hung out a little bit more. And it wouldn't even have to be like, oh, they need to like bring up more depth or more history. It would just be them bullshitting about like Hannah Montana and
Yeah, I mean that. I remember when we got out of that, we were saying that that movie was really fun and really cool, but like I kind of wish the entire movie was just was more of that scene of them in the car.
yeah.
No, she's not Hannah Montana. She's only Hannah Montana when she wears the wig, and back
Yeah.
and forth. Like it's just there's something really cool about that, and movies don't have the balls to do it anymore.
Yeah, I really don't understand, and especially zombie movies. That's the best. Like that's the best way to do that kind of thing, because, I mean, like we were saying with Left 4 Dead, they're just like zombie movies. Just inherently, like the way that the way that their characterization like works, or like the way that they form their characters, this is just like it's an excuse to get the most random assortment of people together and make them interact. Which
Hmm.
is why I feel like characterization should be like the biggest part of zombie movies. Like obviously people aren't going to want to see that because they want to see like gore and like violence and running and epic music and whatever, and or comedy in the case of Zombieland. But it's just such a great excuse to see how you can make people interact and like how a little girl interacts with like a 50-year-old father and like how um, a con artist interacts with a big fat black guy or redneck. It's just like really interesting to me how, and I feel like that's a big part of zombie. Like even if you think of uh probably Dawn of, like the remake of Dawn of the Dead is not the best example, but I forget like for some reason I'm drawing a blank on other zombie movies, but like
Shaun of
there's
the
that.
Dead is a great zombie hangout movie.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead is too. They all are connected in some way though before the ship hits the fan. But I mean, like the original Dawn of the Dead and the remake, they have just like random assortments of people. I feel like coming together and having to interact with each other. I feel like that's just like a really interesting character study kind of thing where you have to make those people interact and like how do you make them interact and stuff. And it
Hmm.
ends up being like they always have those fun scenes. Well, not always, but they a lot of the time they have that like those fun scenes in zombie movies, like in Dawn of the Dead, where they're like just shooting people that look like celebrities. There's like the montage of them just hanging out in the mall.
Yeah.
Um, that's like my favorite part of that movie because it's just like people hanging out, being people, even though like shit's going wrong. And I just wish that more movies would do stuff like that.
There was I think I can hear myself coming out of your speakers.
Oh, can you? I'll lean
Yeah.
back. Can you hear yourself now?
I don't know. Can I?
Can
Yes, I
you?
can.
You can?
Yeah. Well, okay. Either way,
I'll
Neil
turn it down.
Gaiman. Okay. Neil Gaiman wrote this biography of Douglas Adams, and there's a section in it on the Hitchhiker movie, and he mentioned something interesting that I hadn't considered, but is completely true, which was that Hitchhiker doesn't work as a movie because the best parts of Hitchhiker are the fact that it is constantly derailing itself and constantly getting off on these weird tangents and like the stuff about the guide has nothing to do with plot. I mean, half the stuff about the plot has nothing to do with plot. It's literally just the flimsiest excuse to get these guys together, seeing really wacky shit like the Babel fish and saying really wacky shit.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the book so fantastic. And then when you get into a movie, all of a sudden there's this understanding. For some reason, the three-act structure has become so goddamn universal and ubiquitous in our understanding of storytelling that they have to always be pushing the plot forward. They have to be doing this stuff. So you can't just get an hour of sitting around and Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect just talking about mattresses and towels. Like you didn't even talk about the importance of towels in the fucking movie. So, but Trillian has to get kidnapped and they have to go save Trillian because they need to be doing something action based. It's like no, they don't really. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand the virtue of the three act structure and the whole idea of characters revealing themselves through action, but I mean, there's just a lot of fun and a lot of really revealing stuff to be had in people just fucking hanging out and just
Yeah.
talking and being themselves. And it's
Yeah.
okay to like revel in that every once in a while. I mean, that's why as every year goes by, I begin to like Jackie Brown more and more. When I originally fucking hated it because plot is so secondary in that, and but the hangout scenes are fucking great, and you really get a sense for who these characters are, and
Yeah.
the whole heist aspect of it is. I mean, that's why a lot of people are disappointed with it because it seemed like it was going to be another Pulp Fiction where the plot is everything, and well, not even plot. No, that's not necessarily true with Pulp Fiction, but where plot is a major driving force in reality, it's just like I want to hang out with these cool characters who talk in really neat ways, and
Yeah.
it's a great movie to like turn on and just like leave in the background while you do something else, just because it's fun to hear Samuel L. Jackson's character just talk about anything.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, Quentin Tarantino's pretty polarizing, but that's something that he actually does pretty well. Because even in movies where like, it's just like extended scenes of talking, I feel like they're all meant to be revealing conversations. Like they reveal something of the character's history or the characters. Like they're very deliberate in their construction, the dialogue. Do you know what I mean? Like that they have the intention of revealing something about the characters.
Yeah,
Whereas,
you can. I mean, in real life, you can't talk without revealing something about yourself, whether you want to or not.
yeah, but I feel like with in certain films, it's like they construct the dialogue scenes with like deliberately to show, okay, this person is like this
Oh yeah,
person
I
has these
understand.
problems or this
I
person
am
is
a generous person. I am a
yeah, but
selfish person.
But with Quentin Tarantino, he actually has the hangout scene. He actually has character development in terms of like hangout scenes really well.
But that said, I did still fucking
Beginning
hate Death Proof.
of Reservoir Dogs,
You're cutting out,
Mr.
Ash.
Pink is like talking. Like Jack Brown, Reservoir Dogs, where they're just like talking about shit. The way that they bounce off of each other, the way that they like interact with each other, just talking about bullshit like pop culture. It says so much, like so much more about their characters in like more subtle ways than I think a lot of movies um, do, because they just are so preoccupied with this idea that they have to reveal certain things about the characters, or they have to develop the characters in a certain way, or progress the plot in a certain way, that they don't have time to just bullshit about Madonna for
Hmm.
like a couple minutes. And that reveals more about a lot of the characters, just the way that they interact like casually, than other parts of the movie, I feel.
And then Quentin Tarantino's movies also have those moments where, yeah, they do eventually reveal who they are under intense pressure in the way that they behave, but you also get the sense of like through the dialogue, like you're saying, like who they are on just an everyday basis. And then, I mean, I think the problem with, I mean, the basic understanding of the way characterization, the best characterization, and the best plot is you put a character in a shitload of stress and push them to the limit and make them make really tough decisions. Then you see who they truly are, and that's great. But like, I don't know who someone. I don't give a shit about who someone truly is unless I know who they are. Like every day when they just wake up, like what are they? What are they like when they just bullshit about Madonna? Then it matters
Yeah,
when I know whether or not he's going to sell out Mr. Orange to Joe or not. Like that's more important.
yeah.
But at the same time, you couldn't hear me because you were breaking up. But I still fucking hate Death Proof. Like,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's
pretty bad.
that's nothing but hangout session. But for some reason, I think it's just because like those are really realistic conversations, but they're people I would have absolutely no desire to be around in real life. Like, they're just not interesting people to me. I just couldn't stand listening to their bullshit.
Plus, it was juxtaposed with like the most balls to the wall action movie in the world, like the most like aware, like ridiculous horror film,
Hmm.
um, which probably didn't help it very much either.
I found
Because
myself.
you watch like Planetary and you're just like, yeah, fucking guns, legs, and shit, and like it's so ridiculous and over the top and like awesome. And
Mhm.
then you get to Death Proof and you're like, okay, well, what happened to Kurt Russell? Like, fucking shit up. Like, where's that? I want that.
I kept rooting for him.
Well,
I was like, I
I
just
mean,
wanted.
I feel kind of sad because it's like it's supposed to be like female empowerment and shit, and but like the more that I think about it, the more like in terms of Quentin Tarantino, I like Shoshana the best in terms of that, in terms of female empowerment. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I
Because
can understand, how the other characters could be viewed as that. They're just not as. I think Shoshana's really interesting because she does it in
yeah,
just a more realistic way. I mean, in the original draft of Inglorious Bastards, Shoshana was basically just the bride, and she, except with a machine gun, and that's cool, and that is empowering in its own way, but it's also empowering in a really male-centric kind of way, and it's not as interesting as like a character who is as relentlessly intelligent and ballsy as Shoshana in a completely believable and really down-to-earth kind of way.
yeah, that's why I thought she was a really really great character actually,
Hmm.
um, which which her like the fact that she and the Jew hunter are just so interesting just makes me so sad that that movie just completely fucks itself over at the end. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, oh my God. If it was just a movie of just those two, like the Jew Hunter, like just hanging out and then, like, not hanging out, but like, almost on the heels
The
of
Jew Hunter
Shoshana.
at Disneyland.
Jew Hunter Disneyland.
Actually, he would really get along well there because Walt Disney fucking hated Jewish people.
That's true. They would have hung out. Walt Disney and the Jew Hunter hanging out. But like the Jew Hunter on the heels of Shoshana, like if that was the movie, best movie ever.
Hmm.
Seriously. Like I would have really enjoyed it. But I mean, I really didn't give a shit about the bastards all that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was
I,
always interested when Shoshana and the Jew Hunter were on screen.
I still sort of hold by my initial reaction to the movie, which is he just took like two of the greatest movies I've ever seen and then combined them to make one movie that's not that great
Yeah.
because they cancel each other out in this weird kind of way.
Yeah.
But you know what I realized? Like, people don't really give Tarantino a lot of credit for, like, how fucking subtle he is sometimes. Because after I watched Inglourious Basterds and didn't really like it that much, I was trying to, like, see, like, did something change in me where all of a sudden I just don't like Tarantino's style? Is, like, there's something wrong with me? So I went back and I watched Kill Bill 1 and 2. And they're still fucking amazing. Like, I love them just as much now as I did then. So I guess it's just Inglourious Basterds. But there's a scene in part 2 where BB is telling the story about the fish that she killed, and Bill is making her a sandwich.
Hmm.
And I realized I noticed for the very first time that he's making her a sandwich and spreading mayonnaise on this little piece of bread with the biggest fucking butcher knife in the goddamn world.
Oh, you never
Eh,
noticed that before?
No, and I didn't realize like why is he doing that before. And this time it like hit me like if she's gonna go apeshit and try to hurt him, then he has a really big knife to defend himself with, and he can also sort of like subtly, make the sandwich with it and not be overt about how he's trying to defend himself with it, but like it's really clever. And then it took me like, and that's like the sixth time I've seen that movie, and only now did it fucking occur to me that he was kind of a self-defense thing and like a silent warning, like don't fuck with me in front of the kid, even though you're probably not going to, but it's just ninja reflexes and this is how I act. But
I guess I mean, people don't give him credit for that because he's so bombastic in other ways.
yeah, it's very hard to show someone the House of Blue Leaves and then show them any other scene and have them even be looking for subtlety.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I guess I still like Kill Bill, but like I don't know. I like part two a lot more because I feel like it's a lot more subtle. Kill Bill one is just like a clusterfuck of like Tarantino like jerking off. I feel like
I still prefer.
that doesn't make any sense. Clusterfuck. It's just Tarantino jerking off. Like, oh my god, Japanese cinema.
Tarantino's the only person in the world who can circle jerk himself. I still do prefer part one though, just because I love how inference based it is.
I
That
don't feel like. I mean, oh,
well,
inference.
here's the thing: is like when they finally had that conversation in part two about why she left with the kid. Like you learn nothing. Like that's everything that happened that she says. Like she got pregnant and then she didn't want to bring up the kid in a world of violence. Like I inferred that immediately. I mean, you talk about babies and you talk about killers. That's immediately the first place my mind goes.
Right.
And all the conversations that they have, they're supposed to be revealing about their characters. Like the first movie is so good at putting you into this mindset of, okay, we're not going to explain what Bill did that made Hattori Hanzo so angry at him. We're not going to explain what happens to Sophie Fatale after she gets her arm cut off by the bride. We're not going to explain all this stuff. And so it's really I love that sense of having to infer stuff really heavily, like a Shadow of the Colossus kind of thing. So by the time part two comes around, like I've already inferred pretty much everything you wanted me to know, apart from the really cool shit with Pai Mei, which I still love, and how Ella lost her eye and stuff like that. But the basic stuff about their characters that they reveal at the like that's apart from Bill's death is great, but that conversation they have beforehand just is nothing happens. It's a real bummer to me.
I think I like it so much because, well, one, you get it's Bill's brother's name is Bud, right?
Yes.
Because you get that interaction with Bud. I feel
No,
like I like it
that's
so
a
much
great
because,
fucking scene.
yeah, I feel like I like it so much because it's so humanizing in terms of the villains. Because you just see Bill as this horrible shadowy figure, and then you see him and you actually kind of like him, and you're conflicted by that because you're like, fuck, but he like completely fucked the bride over. He's just like a total dick, and you know that.
Yeah.
Like he fucked over Hattori Hanzo, which you like in the first movie. But then you see him and he's just like he's very charming, and you see him with BB, and it's just like this weird like conflicted feeling, and also with Bud as well because he's like for breaking my brother's heart, you know. He's just
Yeah.
like very like there's just like something about Michael Madsen is just like he's just so it might just be Michael Madsen being depressed in general, but like he's just so sad. And,
Every time you see him, you can think of like Species and other bad sci-fi
all the
movies he's
horrible
been
movies
in.
he's been in. But like
Bud is just an allegory for Michael Madsen's everyday life.
yeah, he is Bud essentially. He's just living in a trailer. Um, but like he's just this is like sadness, you know, that he doesn't really have to like overplay. That
Mhm.
he's just bummed about life, bummed about what he's done, bummed about
That scene
that-
with him and his boss at the strip joint is probably my favorite scene in the entire series, and
Oh,
I
it's
really
so
don't know
sad.
why, but it's like just something about the rhythm of the dialogue in that scene and how fucking bummer inducing it is. Like because like everything that's what I love about how that scene plays against the rest of the first movie, because you see this world where everybody brings their swords on planes and everything's like Godzilla and really cool Tokyo sets and people on motorcycles and stuff, and then like Bud has to go take shit from his boss at a strip bar in like Arizona. And
Yeah.
then he has to clean up poop on a restroom floor. It's like, and that previously in his life he was in that world of like Oren Ishii's really cool comic book shit happening all the time, and now he's a fucking bouncer at a titty bar. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And then he just dies too. There's
In
just
the
like
in the,
something
the,
so
the least
like
spectacular
huh?
way ever.
What?
In the least spectacular way ever, he dies. He
I know
doesn't
he
get a
just
cool
gets like
death at
bitten
all.
by a almost like horrific like getting bitten by a snake, and it's like a snake too. It's like this itty bitty thing, and it just like fucks his shit up like immediately. There's
Mhm.
just something I just really like. I guess I kind of characterize like the differences between the two is not subtlety. Well, I guess subtlety, but it's just like Kill Bill 1 is just like so over the top, and then you get to Kill Bill 2, and you just get this really interesting character stuff. Like we don't know any of that stuff about Bud beforehand. and just seeing him and like seeing, like you said, how his life used to be that and now it's this. There's just something like it just puts things kind of in perspective for you because you just all you feel is like, yeah, go bride, like fuck those guys. But then you actually see them and it's like, well, they're actually kind of just sad and like Bill's like actually charming, but he actually like did love her and stuff like that.
Did
And
you
was, like, just fucking
see
pissed
on
that she
Dig
left.
that he
Huh?
may be? Did you see on Dig that Tarantino may be working on the next part of the Bride saga?
Yeah, I heard about that.
I'm
Was it supposed
excited.
to be what is the name of the woman that she kills at the beginning of one?
Vernita Green.
Bernita Green. Wasn't it supposed to be her daughter getting revenge or something?
That was how he pitched it earlier. I don't know if it changed, but I think that might be right. But I mean, I remember originally he was pitching it as like, I'm going to film scenes with BB the kid now and Vernita Green's kid now, and then in 20 years the kids are going to fight against each other and a 60-year-old Uma Thurman or something like that. But the way he pitched it now, he said that we're going to give Uma like 3 years or something like that, and then something is going to happen. And I assume that I can't assume anything really. I mean, because it's wacky Tarantino world. So if he felt
Yeah.
like it, she could age 3 years and the kids could age 20, and then she could fight the kid. I mean, who knows?
There's this interview of Quentin Tarantino on YouTube where he compares himself to P.T. Anderson. Have you seen that?
No.
Essentially, he's saying that he his work informs P.T. Anderson, and P.T. Anderson's work informs him. He kind of sees them sees them as contemporaries. They're kind of on the same playing field. Um, what do you think about that?
I think I need to watch that interview because I cannot even begin to fathom how they're similar in any way.
Yeah, that's why he was just saying that, like, you know,
I mean, maybe in
because
the
he
fact
thinks
that they
that,
both
like,
have made like
huh?
ensemble movies, like Magnolia and Pulp Fiction. There's some degree of like characters intertwining lives and
I think
stuff
he's
like
just
that.
like
But
talking about like the quality of them, not necessarily that they're like
oh, I can buy that.
they're similar, really.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just feel
because
like,
I love fucking P.T. Anderson movies.
yeah,
You and I are the only holdouts, and evidently Conrad, according to Twitter. But you, I, and Conrad are the only holdouts who actually like Punch Drunk Love. So
how does no one like Punch Drunk Love? I love Punch Drunk Love.
I really don't know. I just wonder if they have more like reasonable understandings of what love is supposed to feel like, and like we're weird for thinking that love is like I want to smash you in the face with a shovel because you're so pretty. We're like, yeah, all right, I can buy that, and the rest of the world is like, what? That's not what?
I just love it because like that's what love like. It doesn't have to be love for everyone. That's what love is for that character, though. Those characters, you know.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
and it's very true to who they are too, which is why I liked it so much. I mean, I like that movie more than I like any of his other movies.
Yeah,
More
that's
than There Was
that's my
Blood
favorite
Money.
movie of his,
Yeah,
and I don't own it. What am I doing? I'm gonna goose
I own it.
exit.
Uh-huh.
I get to play Left 4 Dead 2 tomorrow.
Fuck you, you
Deal
bastard.
with it, bitch.
Ah. Should I tell my Grant story? Because I just looked at the HAWPcast list and that's on there.
Okay, well, we've got like we're 45 minutes in, and that's a
Oh, I'll
really
save
good
it for
story.
the one then.
Yeah, that's a really good story. I want to save that for another episode. Well, maybe it's not that good. I don't want to build it up. It's all right. It sucks.
It sucks. It's horrible.
We actually have some questions. I want to actually get to more than one question this time because every time I Twitter, I'm like, "Hey, send me Hopcast questions." And I get like 80, and last time we didn't answer any. And then
sorry.
the episode before that, I answered one. So, all right. Spellpodken said, "Do a shout out to Sweden." This
Stay
goes out to
classy,
Sweden. This goes out to Sweden. And he also wanted if I played Borderlands yet, and I have.
Oh, there's one from Seven is yellow on that email that you sent me.
Oh, okay, do that one.
What is the single most embarrassing thing to happen to you as a child?
I've got one for that. But do you have one?
You tell yours because I can't think of anything.
Okay, so I was in a youth writing class at the university, which I would actually later attend, which was kind of weird. And there was this girl in the class. I can't remember how old I was. I'm going to default to 8 because that's what I always default to. And last time it turned out I was 13. So probably it was probably like 2 months ago, and I just misremembering it. But I remember being very young in either in elementary school or junior high, and it was this is optional summer just little class on writing, not for any credit or anything like that. I was too young, but just for the sake of learning how to write. And there was this girl in the class who, the more I remember how she looked like, she wasn't actually that attractive, but I guess had really low standards or was just tremendously lonely. And I had a thing for this
geez,
chick.
at 8?
Yeah, I don't know. But I just had a crush on this chick, and so I would talk to her about stuff. And one day, you know, we talk after class and then during the breaks and stuff like that, and we're really cool, sat next to each other, whatever. And one day when we were reading reading our stories out loud, I began to feel like I had the flu. And not really hardcore nausea, but just like, okay, something's a little bit weird down there. I should probably go home and lie down, but I can laugh. And then the second, like before I even got through the fucking thought,
Oh my
I
God.
vomited, like projectile vomited onto the table. I didn't think it was actually possible to sort of projectile vomit, but I'm just sitting there in my chair. All of a sudden, I vomit all over the entire table. It just
Oh no.
right out like a fucking hose, like literally like a hose, just for about 2 seconds, and it fucking hits the table, and she just dives back and like scoots her chair back, like slides on it like she's a fucking ninja or something, like there's wheels on it, and just stands up, and I get vomit all over her books and her story,
Oh,
and all over my
no.
own stuff, and everyone is just staring at me, and I pause there, and I'm just breathing really hard, and then I fucking vomit again, and they're just
Oh,
looking
no.
at me, and I'm just like, tears are coming down my eyes just because it hurts so bad. Because I vomit really violently, like my whole body wrenches up, and I just I just vomit it one more time, and then I'm just like leaning against the fucking table, and my elbow is just damp with my own puke, and I just like, there's still some people left in the room. The girls already left. I just like, oh god, get the fuck out of here! I'm gonna vomit all over you. So I'm gonna fucking vomit on you. Just go. And so the kids like run out of the room, and the teacher comes back in, and I have to go and like sit down in the office and wait for dad to come and pick me up, and they have to clean up my vomit. Not the kids, but like somebody has to clean up my vomit.
Oh,
and
God.
and it smells like vomit in there, and it was yeah. And I didn't end up going anywhere with that girl. So that's what happened there. That's mine.
That's so sad.
It's all right. All right, what's your turn?
I can't think of anything really. I'm sure that all the really embarrassing memories that I had, I've just blocked out of my memory. Oh, I have an embarrassing moment from today.
All right, go ahead.
I could just say that.
We'll pretend it's the most embarrassing moment of your life.
Okay.
Let's scale that upward.
I was in my Intro to Media Studies class, and we were talking about television, and she handed us this sheet that had a bunch of questions, and one of the questions was, what were the 3 most important TV shows for you as a child? And so she asked that question out, like, to the class. She asked that question. And people were saying, like, Sesame Street, Barney, and I had that too, and then I had that. I couldn't think of a third one, so I just put down Rugrats.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, Rugrats, and she was, like, saying something like, I didn't realize that she was saying this, but she was saying that a bunch of girls were saying that, and that she was wondering if it was it was more common for like girls to like that show, but I thought she said guys, and so she was like, she said something like, do any girls like Rugrats or something like that, and I thought she was like saying that we didn't like Rugrats, and I was like, I like Rugrats, and she was like, oh no, I know, I'm saying that like girls tend to, and then guys don't. I was like, oh, but I said that in front of I said it like I was a 5-year-old. I was in the fucking middle of a college class. I'm a sophomore in college, and I just said out loud, did I forget I was in class? Like, you don't say that in class. And I was just like, I like Rugrats. Like, what the fuck? And then I just like.
I can imagine. I like to imagine that happening, like when she's midway through talking about something completely different, like 10 minutes
like, I had
later.
to think about it for a while.
I like Rugrats. Like, you're really hurt at the assertion that you might not like Rugrats or something.
That's how I said it, and then I thought about it. I was like, why the fuck did I say that? Like, why did I think that was okay to say just like in the middle of class? And she was like, no, I mean, I know you do. She said that I know you do as well. Like, she knew I liked Rugrats.
You've
She's
made
like,
it.
"No, I
You've
know
made
you
it
do." It's
tremendously
like, oh,
obvious that you like Rugrats.
I know. Like, I would like Rugrats, yeah. She was really nice. I mean, she's just like, I was just saying, like, it was a normal thing to say. But I thought about, like, that's not a fucking normal thing to say. She's not like someone that I know really, like, intimately. She's not my mom. I can't just say, I like Rugrats. Like, she would fucking know. I was, like, really embarrassed after that. I was like, all these, like, normal college people, and then I'm defending the fact that I like Rugrats. Like, what the fuck?
Have you ever talked to someone and you go, hey, and they go, hello, and you go, I'm fine?
Yeah. The awkward penguin thing.
Yeah. I had one of those.
Oh, did you have one of those today?
Well, I had one with our mechanic, and every time I'm around our mechanic, I do something stupid because I don't know anything about cars. So I'll be like, so because I don't know where to stand when they're working on changing out the tires, so I just stand like really awkwardly, like 3 feet away from the car, and I'm probably like blocking another lane, and I'm just I don't know what to do with my hands, so I just like fold my arms and sort of like step forward. I can't pace around, so I just sort of like am in this position, this pose where it looks like I'm about to pace, but I never do, and and then like the one time, every time I do it, it's something stupid. He's like, do you have a spare tire in the trunk? I was like, no, and he opened up the trunk and like looked at. I didn't realize you could hide a spare tire under the carpet, like that's what they're built for. So he opened it and there's a spare tire. I was like, all right. Yes, I do have a spare tire. And then one time I saw him and I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, Anthony. I was like, I'm fine. And he was like, what? I was like, oh, because like I was literally the worst. I had nothing to say because he was like, what? And I was like, I am, how are you? Like this is the only thing I could get out of it, and I fucking hated myself.
I had a thing kind of like that, only it wasn't as, I guess, like weird, embarrassing, awkward, because I think the people in newspaper just assume I'm a little bit weird. But it was my editor-in-chief, and then me, and then the editor-in-chief I worked under last semester, and we were reading stories on the computers because it was like we were finishing the issue for the week. And I sneezed, and then I immediately went, thank you. And no one said, bless you. And then I just started laughing because I don't know what that says, because people are usually like, they usually say bless you, just like recently whenever they sneeze. And so I just said thank you immediately. I should have played it up like, well, fuck you guys when I was
That's the only way out of those situations is you just take solace in the audacity. Just go fucking ape shit.
Yeah, for like no reason, no justifiable reason. And then my another embarrassing thing in Intro to Media Studies class is my editor-in-chief, this editor-in-chief for this semester is in that class with me actually. And my ringtone from a text message is that it's gonna be good from the Princess and the Princess and the Frog trailer. And I forgot to put my phone on silent. And so that erupted in class today. After my Rugrats comment, and my editor
I like Rugrats. It's gonna be cool.
And my editor-in-chief just looks at me and starts laughing. She's heard me, like, she's heard that go off in the news office like 1,000 times. She started cracking up.
Oh man. Dear JC wanted to know why men have nipples. I don't know for the right people to ask that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I could wiki. I could put that in the internet.
She could fucking do it. Joe Pan wanted to know, have you guys ever been into seeing things from games or movie or TV shows exist in real life?
Wait, what?
Have you guys ever been into seeing things from games / movies / TV shows / etc. exist in real life? I think he's talking about like either props or like recreations of things that like the Japanese built that Gundam, that life-size Gundam. And I don't know, I guess. I still really want to see a TARDIS just in person and just fucking touch it.
Isn't there a Doctor Who museum?
Yeah, there's one in Cardiff. There's one in Cardiff where the entrance, I think, is a TARDIS, and
God,
it's like
I want to go.
And I mean, have you like that? The whole entrance is made to look like it's just a blue box next to a wall. So you're meant to believe.
Serious?
Yeah. So you're meant to believe. I mean, there's no. I mean, its back is up against the wall, so it's obvious you can't like move around the back of it and go, oh my god, it's bigger on the inside. But
yeah.
You're meant to think that it's just a blue box standing against the wall, and you open the door and it opens into the rest of the museum. So it's like you're entering an infinitely large TARDIS. Yeah.
I want to go there so badly. That's why I want to go to the United Kingdom, for no other reason than to go to that fucking museum.
Sentry says, I just finished MGS4, thinking about playing through the entire series following its narrative chronology. Bad idea. Yes, very bad idea. Because that series does not follow its own narrative chronology. You would be doing more work to put the story together than Hideo Kojima did. And you will be tremendously disappointed. Like, even looking at the stuff for the fucking new game, he can't move two steps without contradicting himself in some way. Like, fucking, this new story, this new portable ops game, I can't remember what it's called. Peace Walker, like, either is going to completely gloss over the really important stuff we learned about Big Boss's past and like his relationship to Zero and all those guys that was revealed in MGS4, or somehow it happens during, but somehow he creates Outer Heaven before the stuff, and then fucking my head explodes, and then nobody cares anymore because we still don't have a remade high-res, story-centric version of the first two Metal Gear games where we actually get Solid Snake and Big Boss interacting, which is what the entire series needs to tie itself together and make their relationship work and the whole thematic similarities between the two. That's the one thing we need to tie everything together. We don't fucking have it, and we're probably never going to have it. I don't need Raiden. I don't need more shit about Big Boss, although I'll like it. I just need a fucking fight where you hear the Sons of Liberty theme, and it's a fist fight between Solid Snake and Big Boss, and then halfway through the fight, you switch sides from Big Boss to Snake, or vice versa, and you're like, oh my god, I care about both of these characters, and this is an emotional moment for me, and I don't know who I sympathize with, and the music is like, "Rrr," and you're like going fucking Big Boss and Snake, and they go back and forth, and then Snake kills Big Boss, and you're like, yay, yay, and I feel so ambivalent about this, war is hell, yay, and then you fucking, that's what we need, and we'll never get it, ever. James Woods.
So Yankees.
I know, it's just, that's like the linchpin.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, that's like
That's like what you need to do. That's what needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like having Star Wars without the latter trilogy. It's like having only the first 3 Star Wars movies.
Yeah. Well, they're not. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is actually good though.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Heyo. A total asterisk wanted to know if I've played some game that I've never played. CB Akiba, 25 or Akiba, wanted to know what the entire process for making a Hey Ash, What You Playing episode is.
1, play video games. 2, film things. 3, ? 4, profit.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, they tend to work better when we don't sit down and go, we need to make a Hey Ash episode today. I want something on paper, it's usually just we get an idea. Like, I had the I don't want to reveal it yet, but the idea I gave to you when you came over just recently.
Yeah. You didn't give that idea to me.
What are you talking about? I'm sorry, the idea I told you. I phrased that poorly. The idea I told you.
Where are we talking about the one that's horrible?
The one that's going to offend people.
Yeah, we came up with that together.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't feel like we did. I'm pretty sure I came up with that on my own.
No, we came up with that together.
No, I definitely remember
the conversation we were having.
No. Okay, now I remember exactly what happened. You started talking about the thing that was tangential to it, and then I came up with the entire episode.
No!
Yeah, this is what happened. I'm 100% sure now. I remember exactly. I remember where you were standing. You were standing right next to the sink, and it was like dusk.
It wasn't dusk at all.
It wasn't dusk. No, I don't know what the word dusk means. It's like the magic hour. It's after the sun went down.
Doesn't matter. We came up with it together.
It's after the sun went down, but the light's still in the sky.
Next question.
That's what happened. You haven't done anything. I fucking run this ship. Lux FT Dubs asked, how annoyed are you about the obligatory video game tack-ons we have, like multiplayer vehicles and so on? I think they shouldn't be there.
I like them. I think they're good.
I like them. I think they're good. Daniel Gidlow wanted to know if you could premiere...
Gidlow? Huh?
Gidlow? Train won't stop. If you could premiere every Hey Ash, What You Playing episode like the Papa B episode at PAX, would you or would you be hesitant?
Huh. That's an interesting question. I guess probably I'd be hesitant to, because there would be that one episode. Like, if we did it enough, it would lose its charm, and then it would get to the point where like people just wouldn't be laughing or something if it was a bad episode, and I feel really bad at myself. But
before you said that, I was really in favor of doing that with everyone. But you make a good point. But I don't know. There's something about the atmosphere of being in that sort of situation where it's everyone sitting in a room just waiting to be entertained and like really liking you to begin with, that it was just conducive to them laughing anyway. Like, even if the episode hadn't been that good, I think they still would have laughed. Like, they laughed at the really small stuff and the stuff that didn't work that well. So it's a really good ego booster to get a lot of people who like you into a room and then show them something you made and then just basically ask for applause.
Yeah. I wonder if even they would get like tired of that though.
Yeah, probably. Dimebag Abbott RIP said, do you think you guys can try to get HAWPcast on iTunes? And it's actually on there right now. So we hit our fifth episode. Yeah, we hit our 5th episode, and that's all iTunes needs. So we're on there. It's either HAWPcast. I haven't actually checked, but it's either HAWPcast or Hey Ash, What You Podcast. I don't know.
I'm checking right now.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oasis 5001 wanted to know fond memories of gaming together, which is probably an entire episode into itself, so we can talk about that later. We said when you play against each other, who usually wins?
You.
It's me.
I'm not even gonna try to contest that. Unless you could somehow play like multiplayer Harvest Moon. Then I'd fucking win. I'd be the best farm in the world.
Did we talk about the Yeah, we did talk about that last episode.
What?
The shit with the flowers in Harvest Moon.
I think we just talked about that in real life.
Oh, did we?
I think so.
I'm having trouble differentiating real life from our
From our
podcast.
podcasts? That's not good.
Okay, well, really quickly, just in case we did talk about it on the podcast, we were talking about how cool how like incredibly smart that game was about actually doing the kind of stuff that we were talking about. Yeah, for the Nintendo 64. I mean, it actually goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this episode, which is
Oh, that's true.
predicting things that the player can do and programming in cute little rewarding things for just showing that you know what the player is going to do. Like you did. I remember. Well, we want you to tell the story about the flower fields.
I was just like I was obsessed with that game when I was younger, and I would just do things because after after your dad comes and evaluates your farm, you can just keep playing. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do everything. So I bought a shit ton of flowers from the flower shop because I just had a bunch of money, and I planted them. And I think I might have planted them for the purpose of getting a power berry or something because I read that online. But Stu came and he was like, "Oh, look at your flowers. They're so nice. Can I take some of them?" And I was like, "Sure." And then like a second later, or not like a second later, like the next day, these three girls that you see at the horse race came by and they're like, "Oh, look at the flowers. They're so pretty." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then like the next day, this couple comes and they like, "Oh, look at the flowers, honey. Aren't they beautiful?"
And they were
And
talking about it like it was this thing that everybody had been talking about. They're like, "Oh,
yeah, and they were
these are the
like,
flower
"Oh, we
fields."
love them so much," and then they made out like right in front of my lawn. I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" But what the fuck? And Harvest Moon 64 is like filled with that shit. Like
Can I just say really quickly that you
oh
used
sure.
to think Harvest Moon was really stupid because I was playing it, and you're like, "You're playing a game where you fucking farms. That's so dumb." And you and our
We're
cousin,
stupid.
you and our cousin were like, "Yeah, that's so stupid. Like, I think he's so stupid." And like 2 years goes by, and you're like, "I fucking love farming."
Why are you saying that like I'm the girl from
You're Stacy from
Daria?
Daria. Yeah, you're what's her face from the head of the fashion club. But that fucking happened. I still resent that shit. I remember sitting in our great aunt's like living room playing Harvest Moon on my little Game Boy, and then you and the other girl, I was completely alone in the room except for you and our cousin, and you both come in like he's playing some fucking farming game, ha ha ha, and you left, and I was just sitting there playing my farming game. Just
Oh, I'm
alone.
sorry.
And
I
in 2
wasn't
years,
that malicious about it.
no, you were. It was really bad. And then 2 years later, you're like, I love farming, and it was like all
I wasn't
forgiven.
that malicious.
You were. It was pretty bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you fucking ought to be.
I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, there's another part of Harvest Moon that um, it's like because you know how you have rivals for the certain girls or whatever. So like, if you want to marry Anne, then your rival is Cliff. If you want to marry Potpourri, then your rival is Anne's brother. And they program stuff in there. So like, once you marry someone and you're good enough friends with like the other like bachelors in town, that they have these cutscenes where they're wooing the other girls. So like, you go to the Anne's farm or whatever, and her brother has planted a field of flowers because he likes Potpourri and he wants her to like him because she likes flowers and shit like that. And there's another one where like Maria is getting harassed by the salesman and Harris comes in and like tells him to fuck off. Just like tiny things like that. Harvest Moon 64 is full of that shit, which is why I loved it so much because it was just like you do things and then it rewards you like it's in its own little like it has like this whole logic within its little world of stuff that would happen if you did certain things.
Right on.
Right on.
Right. Well, we went an hour and we went through I think all the. Well, let me refresh my Twitter just in case there's anything really spectacularly interesting.
Okay.
Oh, Citizen Erased wanted to know: do you think you can make a successful video game parody video game? And no comment.
I don't know.
No comment. We'll talk about They Call Me Mr. Driving next week. Remind me
Okay.
about that. We have
Okay,
to talk
cool.
about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that next week.
Yeah. All right. That's pretty much good enough.
All right.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.